Hey, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? What is up, my friend? It has been a minute, hasn't it? Oh my gosh. Welcome back to the Unlocking Excellence podcast with your main man, Eric Schwefel. What up? It's good to see you. It's good to be back. Well, I guess I'm not seeing you, right? It's good to be back. And it's been a little while. So I appreciate if you're listening to this, I appreciate you listening to this. I appreciate you sticking around. I apologize for having been gone on this platform a little while, but my commitment is to consistently make it back, right? So what is it that we do here? I realize it's been a while, right? I've only gotten one podcast in one, I think just one this year. And then the last time was sometime in December. So my intention with this podcast is to kind of update you a little bit on what's going on in life, why I haven't been around, own up to this. It's all about accountability. And I truly believe how important it is. It's so important to lead by example. You know what I mean? Like if you want people to be accountable to you, if you want people to step up in their life, then you've got to step up in your own life, right? So that's one of the things. And then the intention and the commitment, actually, it wouldn't be an intention, right? It's going to be like, this is going to happen. So that's a commitment moving forward. So I'm excited about it. I hope you're excited about it. There's been a lot of things happening, right? So let's break it down. A couple of weekends ago, I went through an NLP practitioner course. I became an NLP practitioner. And let's see what else. I've been working on my martial arts. There's this martial art that I'm doing. It's called Ricarte. It's sword and dagger fighting. It's actually a dead art. It's kind of like the Latin of martial arts in the sense that it's dead, and only people who it shows up to ends up learning it. And I'm on level 7 of 12 of that. I've bumped up a level every month. I'm learning new martial art. That's like my passion right now, is the martial arts and being able to move in my body more freely. I feel like I'm a break dancer with some of the things that I'm doing. So if you want to know what I'm talking about and actually see it rather than just hear it, check out my Instagram, check out my Facebook. I got a TikTok now. I'm not doing the dances. Maybe I'm not going to rule it out that I want to do the dances. My cousins are really great at the dances and TikToks and all. So we'll see what happens. I got one because like I don't want to become irrelevant, and TikTok's the hot thing, and it's been the hot thing for a while. Reels is a thing too, so you'll see that on the Instagram. And so NLP, the martial arts, hanging out with the friends more, right? So for a while I had a relationship change, and I just had a hard time, man. You know what I mean? Like I just had a hard time. It was probably a good 5 months. And then I found some things out afterwards and, regarding that relationship, and it just brought me down even further, you know what I mean? Like seeing certain things and realizing certain things and having certain realizations. So it was all over the place for a little while. And so then what ended up happening is after a few months of just like sulking and being in self-pity and basically going through this change within myself, I realized I was like, I need to do something about this. And before you start saying, oh, Eric, it's okay. Yeah, I realize that we all go through pain, and I've been through breakups and relationship changes and stuff like that before. So no big deal, right? I knew that this was going to end up happening. And I have a great support system. So that was one thing. And one of the great things that came out of this is how my body has changed, man. So over the last couple of months, I have been doing something called 75 Hard. Have you ever heard of that before? It is a mental toughness program. I don't think it's a mental toughness program created by this guy, Andy Frisella. He has a supplement company, among other companies, called First Form. And it is a program that involves quite a bit of training. So you do two 45-minute workouts a day. One has to be outside, one is inside. You stick to a meal plan. You drink a gallon of water a day. You take a progress picture every day. What else is there? You read 10 pages of a book. You don't drink any alcohol. And I'm pretty sure those are the requirements. And you do that for 75 days. Now, if you're not already kind of thrown back in your seat and like, damn, that is hard, then go and look it up, and then you can see some of the requirements here. It is hard. It's supposed to be hard. That's why it's called 75 hard, right? A lot of people are like, I can't do that with my life. I have this, that, and the other going on. And what I realized is those people are at the effect of their life. Their life affects them. Their life impacts them rather than them impacting their life. And we'll hit on that in a little bit. We'll circle back to it. And every time I say circle back, I laugh because it reminds me of the White House press secretary, and I'm not a fan of her. Um, so with that, 75 hard's been happening, right? So I've been sticking to it. I failed the first time at 26 days. 26 days. It was one of my boys' birthday parties, or birthdays, and we went and hung out at the casino and swam all day, and I wanted to have a little bit of alcohol with them. So I went straight on, straight back to it. But it was I let myself have that alcohol. And then I failed 13 days in. I want to say I didn't get a progress picture. I didn't even think of it, man. Like, I was just distracted. And then 12 days later, I ended up failing. I was on my way back from Wisconsin, and we got caught in traffic for freaking 4 hours, and I could not use the bathroom. Like, I couldn't drink anymore. We were stuck on the interstate, the highway, so I couldn't drink any more water without basically my bladder exploding. And then as soon as I use the bathroom, right when we're like at a standstill, it starts moving again, and I got to get back in the car. So that just was terrible. So where I'm at now is 45 days, right around 45 days. I'm over the hill with it. I've lost 25 pounds so far. I am a lot leaner. I'm a completely different person. So I needed that. In order to get me out of where I was mentally, right? Sometimes we stay stuck in our heads, and we just need to get into our body. That's why I love working out so much, y'all, is because it gives an opportunity to focus on something other than what's in your head. Sometimes we just can't get out, right? And sometimes we have problems, or sometimes we have things that we're dealing with. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard from different professors, different psychologists, different authors. They all say essentially the same thing. If you're stuck on a problem, you don't know how to figure it out, go and do something else. Whether it's take a shower, go for a walk, do something that's going to get your mind off of the thing that you're doing, and allow your creative mind, your subconscious mind, the divine mind to work for you, because it does. It's always working for you. And we're going to dive a lot more into the subconscious mind and what it really means to unlock excellence in these further episodes, these episodes that are coming up. I'm just realizing how important it is. Through this past weekend, or 2 weekends ago, when I did this NLP. So those of you that don't know, NLP is Neuro-Linguistic Program. It's basically the user manual for your mind. It teaches you how to communicate, all the different filters that happen whenever you communicate. It breaks things down from your environment to your capabilities, to the skills that you have, to the stories that you tell yourself, to the beliefs that you made, the decision from those beliefs, the choices that come from that, the state that you were in, the identity that you choose. And I would imagine too, it can address the relationship if you want it to. I guess it doesn't have to do that in the curriculum itself, but it can address the relationship that you have with your creator, right? So with that, what that's really helped me with is, for the longest time, y'all, I had a challenge releasing the physical way of doing things in the non-physical. Okay, so let me explain that a little bit more. I've always been a rather spiritual person, a very in my imagination type of guy. I've been very fascinated by the non-physical world, right? Like the Bible, the stories in the Bible, the universe, the things that are around us, noticing at a very young age that you can think of somebody and then seconds later they end up calling you and being like, well, that was weird, and kind of playing and testing this in different aspects in my life, and realizing really when I don't listen to my intuition, things do not go the way that I want them to go. They go completely haywire. And my intuition has always been there to warn me. I've just been like, I'm not going to listen to you. I know better. And what NLP helped me realize is the connection that's there. It's the subconscious mind, it's our divine mind, our unconscious mind, it's our higher self. Depending on the vocabulary that you want to use, there is something that's deep within us that has our best interest at heart, and it runs us all day, every day, in all sorts of different kind of ways. So with that, I want to dive into that because it's kind of like you're riding an elephant or you're riding a big animal, right? Like when you're riding an elephant, think about it. You're this small person, but you're directing this huge and powerful animal. And you really don't need to like pull the reins on the elephant. You don't need to hurt it or anything in order to get it to where you want it to go. All you really have to do is kick. I think that's how you do it. You kind of have to use your heel to kick the back of the elephant. And I say kick, I mean tap the back of the elephant so that it knows where it's going, right? It's not as challenging as you think. And then the elephant moves that way. It's just gentle movement. And it's the same thing that happens with our unconscious mind. It's the same thing that happens in our own life. So what I've noticed is that for most of my life, I would say a good part of my life, I have been very rough with myself. Yeah, I've been very rough with myself. I've been very hard on myself. I've judged myself a lot. I haven't let myself kind of, get that grace. And over the last couple of years, it's been a hell of a lot better, a hell of a lot better. But yeah, so there's still that judgment. And I'm sure that you've experienced that too, where you can be just so damn hard on yourself. Somebody comes along and says, hey, stop being so hard on yourself. So there's actually warrant behind that, because when you aren't so hard on yourself, you actually can take the time to breathe and say, okay, well, obviously I'm not doing the right thing. So if I'm not so hard on myself, I can take a step back and I can see, well, what is the thing that I can do, or who is it the person that I need to be in order to have the result that I want. So that kind of leads me to the main intention of this podcast, and that is to realize whether you are currently the cause in your life, or are you being more are you in the position of being the affected? Okay, so to give a little bit more clarity around that, cause and effect, right? Something caused XYZ. Golly, I just totally made a blank. If you punch somebody, like you tap on a friend and they punch you back, you say, why'd you punch me? They'll probably say, because you punched me first, right? So there's a cause to an effect that goes on there, right? If you eat too many calories and your body doesn't burn off those calories, then those calories are going to turn into fat, right? They're going to be turned into stored fat, potential energy. So with that, where in your life do you notice yourself as the cause, or where do you notice yourself as more of the effect, right? It's a tough thing to look at. And I say that because self-reflection isn't as common as it used to be. So even if it's just for a moment or two, reflecting on your actions and what those actions brought in your life, even if it's just for a moment or two, what that's going to allow you to do is slowly but surely change the course of your life based upon the decisions that you make. And it doesn't take much, right? Just like I mentioned with the elephant not too long ago. Now, here's something that a lot of people don't know. 95% of what we do, 95% of what we do is unconscious habit. Go through your day. Do you think about waking up in the morning, using the bathroom, brushing your teeth? Do you think about your morning routine? Do you think about breathing? Do you think about digesting your food? Do you think about where your eyes are going to look, or do you just look there? When you're on the way to work, do you really think about driving, or is it automatic? All these things, there's so many things in our life that are habitual, that are unconscious. We don't even realize that our unconscious mind runs it. It's like a program, right? What we get to do is we get to look at the programming. We get to look at ourselves and we get to say, are we a fan of what's going on right now? It's not whether or not we like it. It's, are we a fan of it? Are we enjoying it, right? Is it effective for the goal, the intention, for the commitment that we have? And it's really, really simple. It's a yes or a no. We can get gray with it if you really want to, but what I've learned is gray fits in certain situations and circumstances where black and white is more effective in others. So it's not always about being gray. It's not always about being black and white. It's about looking at each situation and circumstance and then being able to determine which is more effective for you. Is it black or white, or is it gray? Is it being able to see both sides? Is it staying firm in your convictions? Man, we are hitting a lot today, aren't we? I really missed being on a podcast. So, in order to create your results, you must be at cause in your life. You got to be at cause in your life. You got to be the one that is making shit happen in your life. And if you're not, then that means that shit's happening to you, right? Being at cause is a choice of how you show up in your life. You can show up angry, you can show up sad, you can show up happy, you can show up overwhelmed, joyful. You can show up with laughter, you can show up with ease, you can show up with seriousness, you can show up with guilt, you can show up with blame, you can be showing up with shame, you can show up with all sorts of different emotions. You can not even show up. You can show up physically but not be there mentally and emotionally, right? There are so many different ways that we can show up, that we can be at the cause. You are the sum cause of everything that's happened in your life. You're here now listening to this because of all the choices and the decisions that you've made, right? So choose to be at cause right now for the things in life where you don't feel like you have control. Be at cause now with that, right? You choose consciously and unconsciously everything that happens to you. Now, that's a tough truth for a lot of people, right? They're like, but why would I bring myself through X, Y, and Z? Why would I bring myself through certain events? It's to learn something, right? It's to learn something. Now, I'm not saying every event is like that. I'm not saying, certain things don't happen in life. That's a story for another day. What I'm talking about is what's in your power and what's in your will. You have control of that, right? The things that are within your circle. When you realize that, you can start making the changes. When I realize that, I can start making the changes. Now, does that mean I realize that on every level of my life yet? Does that mean that I'm absolutely perfect and I have all the habits that I want and I've gotten rid of all the habits that I don't? Hell no, right? Just look at this right here and now, right? There are times where I scheduled to make a podcast before this moment, but I resisted. I didn't want to do it. I was working from convenience. I was working from a place of, I don't have to do this thing. What does it matter anyway? Does it really matter if I do this? Does it really matter if I don't do this? Right? And so then I realized on some level, and it's starting to come more and more and more on deeper levels, but everything that you do matters. How you show up matters. Not only does it set the frequency that you emit out into the world, but it also attracts so much more. So what's so amazing is it's kind of like, have you ever heard of the double slit experiment in physics and quantum physics? If you haven't, YouTube it, the double slit experiment. They have tons of videos that you can watch a few to really get the idea down. It's important to listen to several other people and to get their experience and not just draw upon one person's experience. And the double slit experiment, what it says is that the observer affects the observed. So there was an experiment done that shows that light travels in waves, but once somebody looks at the light, it turns into a particle. Isn't that peculiar? So the observer, me and you, we affect our reality. We affect what we see just by looking at it. Hmm. What do you think our thoughts do? Our feelings, how we act with people. How do you think that affects us? And if you're like, oh, it doesn't affect us at all, well, let me hit this on you. Let me share this with you. So right now, I am pressing. I'm doing this podcast, and my microphone and my laptop are on a table, and I'm pressing my finger into the table right now, and I'm feeling a sensation in my finger as I'm doing this, right? And it's getting a little bit more painful as I'm pushing my finger into the table more and more. Now, here's the crazy thing. I'm not actually feeling my finger. What's happening is chemicals are being released in my brain that are telling me what's happening, right? So there are sensors in my finger, and then there are electrical impulses that are traveling up my body. There are chemicals that are being released and says, "Hey, you're putting some pressure on your finger. This doesn't feel so great. You might want to go ahead and release it." So it's not actually it's the chemical reactions in my brain that are happening. So once we begin to realize just how things work, we can begin to change them as well. So many times my clients come to me as the effect in their life. They come to me because they are being affected. Does that make sense? They've let other people overrun them for so long by the roles that they play. I work with a lot of women, so they've been playing mom, they've been playing wife, they've been playing confidant, sister, homemaker, they've been playing cook, they've been playing cleaner, they've been playing all these things for so long that they forgot who they were at an identity level. And now something happened in life. There was something that caused them to say, hey, what the heck happened? I need to get back to me. So you get to create your own economy. You get to create your own environment. You get to create anything that it is that you want to create, as long as you first have that belief within yourself. Remember, it was Henry Ford who said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. He told his men that he wanted to make, I want to say it was a straight six, it was a V6 um, motor. Oh, man, I wish I remember the type. But anyway, his scientist said it wasn't able to be done. He said, you have 6 months. They got close, but they weren't able to finish. He said, do it again. 6 months, they got close, they weren't able to finish. It took 2 years, but what they said was once impossible, they created based on the determination that Ford gave them. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Ford, but I can use this as an example based on the evidence that it supports with the point that I'm trying to make, right? So here's the thing, y'all. You've got to set some rules and some boundaries, and I've adopted a policy where I never listen to anyone explain why they can't do something, because I don't want to be convinced by them that I can't do something. Whenever you hear somebody say, "Oh, I can't do this thing," and then they begin to tell you all the reasons they can't, it's like, well, shit, no wonder why you can't, because you keep telling me the reasons why you can't do it. What if you were telling me the reasons how you can do it and how you're going to figure it out? How much different would that be? I can't make it to the gym because I just don't have enough time. My bet schedule is so busy. I wake up in the morning, I got to get the kids ready for school. And then once they get ready for school, my day just plummet. I have all these errands to run. I've got to end up going to work, and work is just so stressful. I work so much that I actually forget to eat. And then as soon as I go and get the kids from school, then we have to go back and they have their homework, and I got to prep dinner. And then once we have dinner, I got to clean everything, and I got to get this going, and I got to get that going. And there are all these reasons why you can't get it done. Whew, I'd be tired. I'm tired just saying all that. But what if you chose to be the cause? What if you chose to define things differently, right? What if you chose to be more creative? A workout doesn't have to be every day for 60 minutes. A workout can be 10, 15 minutes. It can be a stretch. It doesn't take any more energy to choose a water than it does a Coca-Cola or some other high caloric beverage. It's just a mindset. It's just what you're choosing. There was this story. I'm going to make up names. Bob and Bob Jr. go to Bobby Jr.'s friend's birthday party. Little Susie Jr. is out there, and Susan comes up, and Bob and Susan start talking to each other. They find out that they're both looking to lose weight, trying to lose weight, about 20 pounds. They both talk how nutrition's the hardest part. They're at this birthday party, so that there's all sorts of great snacks and foods. Some cheeseburgers come by. I don't know about you, but I love the smell of cheeseburgers, Bob says. Why don't you grab one? The person that's bringing around the cheeseburgers. Oh, no, I can't. I'm trying to lose weight. Susan, what about you? Oh, no, thank you. I'm a vegan. I don't eat meat. The level of discipline, the sheer finite resource of will goes down for Bob because he loves cheeseburgers, but he's not allowing himself to have them. Whereas that discipline, that code, that mindset, that rule that Susan has, it hasn't affected her discipline at all. Right? Bob, fast forward, gets stressed out at the party. His son's going all over the place. He's seeing other people eat and enjoying. He's kind of building some resentment. Why can they have it? I can't have it. By the end of the day, little Bobby is getting on his nerves. He's irritated. He's tired. Bob is tired. He's been out in the sun all day. There's one last round of cheeseburgers. And without even thinking about it, Bob grabs those cheeseburgers. Before he even finishes the first one, a second one is in his hand. The end of the party comes around. Susan, she's feeling a bit hungry. She's tired too. She tells the host, hey, we're going to go. It was such a lovely party. We're a little bit hungry. We're going to go home and we're going to have a healthy meal. It wasn't even a question for her because her operating system was different than Bob's. She had rules. She had a code. She has policies for herself. I'm not going to have meat, so I'm not going to be tempted by these things. What if he said the same thing with sugar? What if he said the same thing with alcohol? What if he said the same thing with whatever it is for you? I'm not going to have this thing. It's not a part of who I am anymore. I don't eat that. I don't have that. That's not me. How many times have you given in to temptation because of peer pressure, because that's what somebody else wanted you to do, or because that's what you thought you were supposed to do? You wanted to fit in. You didn't want to be the outcast. You didn't want to be that person that wasn't having it. Why? It's because of what you were making it mean to you, right? Like, if I don't fit in, then it means that I'm XYZ. I won't be able to hang out with people. If I don't fit in, then this is going to happen. If I don't do this, then that's going to happen. It's all in your head. You don't even know. How many times have you stopped yourself from progressing or doing what you want because of what you told yourself in your head and your heart before you even communicated it or found out, got clear on what was actually going to happen? Focus on what you want. You need to be in charge of your focus and your results. And listen, I care enough about you, so you need to know. Actually, I was trying to make this quote my own, but I want to read this quote to you as it is. We are caring people, and you also need to know that we do not care about your excuses for not having your life the way you want it. We invite you to give up arguing for your limitations. That's what one of the leading teachers, master trainers of NLP, Ted James, said. We are caring people, and you also need to know that we do not care about your excuses for not having your life the way you want. We invite you to give up arguing for your limitations. We invite you to give up arguing for your limitations. Wow. How many times have you fought for your limitations? There are these things in cells, especially within the brain, called neurotransmitters. That's how cells communicate. It's literally in every cell in the body. It bathes every cell in the body. Every cell connects and talks with each other. So that means there is absolutely a mind-body connection. Thoughts are the cause of disease, of dis-ease, of illness. Certain emotions, especially negative ones, can bring about adverse effects within your body. 100%. I can't tell you how many times. Okay, so there's this story I remember specifically. I did not want to do something, so I remember I didn't want to do something, and what ended up happening was I got food poisoning that day. And I thought it was weird that that ended up happening, but I have a feeling that my subconscious mind brought about me having food poisoning, so I didn't have to go and do the thing. There have been times where I didn't want to go to events with people and I was feeling completely fine. Then all of a sudden I became ill, whether it was vomiting or stomach virus or whatever it was, right? There are times where things have come up where, oh, I don't want to really go to the gym and take care of myself. And then shit's popped up. I can't tell you how many times clients have said, Eric, I'm going to come to the gym. And then they say, oh, there's something that popped up. I won't be able to make it. We create those situations, but we're not always aware of them. It's our unconscious mind. And that's where unlocking excellence comes in, y'all. Unlocking excellence comes in from being able to communicate with your unconscious mind, your subconscious mind, your divine mind, your higher self, and humbling yourself enough to know that your ego does not have all your shit together. I'm speaking to myself here, right? Like I like using this podcast kind of to get my thoughts out and to it's kind of like journaling and then with the intention of helping people. So, how often are you going to fight your subconscious mind? If you were to fight an elephant, how do you think you would win? If an angry elephant was charging at you and you didn't have a firearm that could take that elephant out, shit, I bet a shot from a firearm wouldn't even take the elephant out, right? You would need to probably get a couple if you don't get it in the right place. Your subconscious mind can, if it turns on you, and the beautiful thing is that it won't, because it just wants to work for you. It wants to please you. It wants to do everything that you want it to do. It's just how we have it programmed right now. There is empirical evidence that thoughts affect your body, that thoughts affect your hormones, your emotion, that they affect every aspect of your life. There is empirical evidence that our experience stays within our body. Fear, trauma, joy, all that, it stays within our body if you do not release it, if you don't do the work to release it. Your subconscious mind stores all that. Did you know that there are more connections in the brain than there are stars in the sky and sands in the sea? So, what's so important to know is that your neurons in your brain, when they fire together, they bind together. Okay. So if you consistently allow them to fire in fear, shame, guilt, blame, and pain, what do you think you're going to get more and more and more of? My encouragement, my friend, for you is to be the cause of your life. Speaking to you too, Eric, speaking to myself, for you to be the cause of your life. To step up for yourself, to be the man, to be the woman in the mirror that gives to yourself unconditionally, unapologetically every single day. Because when you do that, when you show up for yourself like that, you are informing and literally showing people how they show up for you. Do you not think of Michael Jordan, do you not think when people came into the presence of Michael Jordan, they automatically stood taller and became a different person? We, the people in our life, are a reflection of who we are. Mm. And we are a reflection of them. Mm. So continue to show up and step up for yourself. I do a lot of self hypnosis, a lot of self hypnosis. I train my unconscious mind like a madman. So if you want to learn that, just let me know. And I've learned something called timeline therapy, where you can go into your past, you can go into your future, your present, and I've learned how to change my interpretations of things. So like I've gone back into my timeline, and I've rid myself of anger, of sadness, of fear, of guilt, of hurt, of shame, of blame. I've rid myself of these things. Now, don't get me wrong, like it's not like, oh, I can't experience these things anymore, but the pain that I had in my heart, in my soul, in my spirit for so long is gone. And I don't say that lightly. So with that, when you begin to dive into who you really are, your spirit, your soul, you really can start making some crazy changes. If you look at the ocean, there are some really strong currents at the bottom of the ocean, in the middle of the ocean, and they create some monster waves up at the top, right? Working with your unconscious mind, doing the timeline therapy, and becoming the cause of your life is like the currents in the ocean. They can swipe you under if you're not careful, but they make monster waves up on the surface. I think that's a good place to stop, right? Be the cause of your life, not the effect. Know how powerful you are. Love yourself. Show up for others. And thank you for listening. I appreciate you. I love you. I hope that you have a great day. And if you got something out of this, share it. That's all I'm asking, is just share it. Especially if you listen this far, share it out. Please let people know what's up. Let me know if you haven't, and if you haven't sent it to me, let me know what your favorite part of this was. What did you get out of it, right? I love knowing that kind of thing. It helps, the feedback helps me become a better version of myself, a better speaker, a better podcaster, and all that kind of stuff. And two, let me know if there's anything in particular that you want to hear about or know more about. I'm still hitting up unlocking excellence. I want to start hitting the subconscious mind, the unconscious mind a little bit more. I'll still hit physical training, and I really enjoy the kind of just the open thought way of doing things. So yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you. I love you. You are unstoppable, and go be unapologetically you. Make it a great day, because you're the one that's in control of that. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.